Hi, this is Angelo Ellerbee, the author of the new book, Before I Let You Go. You're tuning in to Soul Booking Cool.
So fucking cool.
That's so motherfucking cool. So listen to so fucking cool.
Welcome to So Booking Cool, it's Jewel B. Throughout his career that spans more than 5 decades, Mr. Angelo Ellerbee has championed the careers of many of the world's biggest stars, from late greats James Mtume, DMX and Michael Jackson, to Lionel Richie, Melba Moore, Alicia Keys, and Dionne Warwick, just to name a few. The Double Xxposure Media Relations founder does the same to emerging and seasoned talent as well. He is also a long-time activist. This August, he will release his new and what he says is his last book, Before I Let You Go, with writer Kevin E. Taylor, which aims to empower both the young and the old. Check out our conversation with friend to the show, Mr. Angelo Ellerbee, only on So Booking Cool. All right, so Angelo, does it feel like time has flown by with all the experience that you have?
Do you know, it seems to stand still. And it stands still because that's just where I wanted to be. I never want to forget my humble beginnings, coming from the greatest city in the world, Newark, New Jersey, loving my mother, loving my sisters. The remembrance of my beginnings is something that I will never forget. My mother was a eighth grade educated, uh, uh, a waitress by trade, but she had a degree in humanity and she had a degree in love and she had her degree in just caring for her children, and she told me and she loved me and she provided for me and she tutored me and she cared for me, and I love her so very, very much. All of what I think it is an offset of my mother's care and concern for her, as she calls me, her baby boy. Um, she gave us in the ways of wise of life and what you had to be. She always told me that you're great because you're my child, but I want you to be great because you're God's child. But I want you to be greater to accomplish all that you set out to accomplish. Just keep God close to you, lift him, praise him, give him what he needs to have, and he'll give you everything that you need to have. So I can only go back to simply say my beginning was full of love. Uh, my mother was no joke to contributing to the household. She believed that everyone, my four sisters and my two brothers and I, had to be contributors because she was very limited in terms of their yearly income. My mother used to take her phones to work with her. And we would always say, why is she taking the phones to work? And then as I grew older, I understood she was really preserving the right to have a phone in a household of 8 to 9 people. So if we all got on the phone when we got in from school or got in from work, we wouldn't have had a phone. When she came home, she would plug the phones in and we would go at it, and we would utilize the phones. So I learned that. I mean, I just learned how she was able to tackle her odds, how she was able to supply to meet her own needs and her family's needs. So, I always just looked at everything that was provided was gifts of life. And I wanted everyone to be equal in my distribution, as my mother wanted all of her children to be equal in her distribution and our responsibilities to be adults. And I think I was an adult at a very early age. Maybe I was an adult at 14 years old because we really had to savor uh, everything that we had and we wanted to get. We had to savor it and hold it and share it. And, I got my brother's clothes, got my brothers got everything that I ever had and wanted to use. My sisters got each other's clothes, and they went on and on and on. But it taught me something. It taught me how to stay humble, how to stay positive, how to be giving, how to be loving, how to be supportive. So yeah, so those were the wonderful days of my life. And my mother always wanted me to understand the importance of loving yourself. She used to say to me, baby boy, my youngest, she would always go, my youngest, I love you so much each and every day. You know, from when I can remember 5 years old up to I was like 14 years old, every single morning before she left work, she would come in my room, she would kiss my forehead, and she would say, I love you. And I would say, Mama, I love you too. And that's one of the things that I find very important, particularly in our culture. Uh, we are so afraid to say to our children, to our grandchildren, to our loved ones, I. We think so much that it is a given because they're our mothers and our fathers, you know, and they should be the provider and the keeper. But I learned at a very early age the importance of hearing and understanding what that word love meant and means the world to me. I am romantically in love with Angelo Ellerbee, and not to be conceited, but to understand that if I can teach someone how to love me and I can go about loving someone else, it's all about a teaching moment about love and emotions and caring and being concerned for the next person. You know, my book is really about it's not, it's a template for my life, but it's not about the music industry. Why I enter into it, I delve into it, but it's really about that layperson. It's about the homeless person. It's about the domestic violence victims. It's about the HIV positive victims. It's about the incarcerated person. Because I just believe so much, Jewel, that God gives us chances. We cannot be judge or jury on somebody else's life. We should give them chances. So when they come out of prison, we need to be able to educate them and still and stimulate them and mentor them to a new horizon. So we went through what they went through, what they went through. A drug addict goes through what they go through. And you know what? It comes a time where they want to just progress and just get it together. And we should give them that chances. So the book just outlines about the importance of mentorship, about giving back, about supporting someone that you don't even know. Because that's what I've done my whole entire life. While people didn't understand my firmness or my directness, it was about giving back. It was about loving someone that never has been loved. The loneliness of not being loved is really emotional. And I think it has a clear line of mental health. It deals with mental health. When you're not loving somebody or hugging somebody and you're not a, leaves a very bad taste in the system. I want people to understand the importance of wow, just helping somebody. You know, just helping somebody. We're going through so many traumatic moments in this country where we can't really decipher and understand where we're at as human beings. And I always say we're at where God wants us to be, but you have to really, really. I pray 45 minutes every single day because I really believe when God gives me 24 hours out of the day, I can give him 45 minutes and I pray for everything that moves and that he created only because I've learned the importance of loving myself and knowing that people need to be prayed on. They need to be uplifted. They need to be motivated. They need to be stimulated. They need to be cared for. They just need to be loved. That's what this book is about. It's about really getting into your own, getting into you and getting into other people. I remember many years ago, there was a gentleman by the name of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who I followed for many years as a young child. I also understood my history in terms of where people of color was put at, how they were sacrificed. And all he wanted, you know, they really wanted to tell you that this man was racist and this man was this. And but you have to really look in the mirror, you know, and just say, you know what? He is not. He was saying, we need to be a collective. We need to be a community. We need to have our own farms. We need to have our own. We need that. We need to be able to uh, be our auto mechanics and run our. We need to salute the inventors, people who look like us, who gave it, and they turned this whole thing into a no, but it wasn't. This man was preaching the gospel, with no pun intended. He was preaching the truth about where we needed to be as a collective. And that's where my soul is at 67 years old. That's where my soul is at this point, is really teaching and educating young people and old people. Let's not forget the old people, because I pray for them so much, because I think that when we get to a certain age, our young people want to say they're old, they're not useful, they don't, and then they sit and they get it depressed. They look out the window and they rocking chairs. They don't get up. They're not mobile. They're not excited about life. But what we have to think about as a senior, we have to think about we're still here. And there's a reason why we're still here, because he wants us here. So we have to really, really get up in the morning and feel good, wake up and just look up and say, you know what, I thank you for this extra day of life. Thank you for the movement of my body. Thank you for the movement of my legs. Walk with me, talk with me, and be with me, and surrender to him. Um, Jules, that's just where this book is at. That's where I'm at in my life at this stage of the game. It's about loving yourself and being able to love somebody else. And I just know that in this day and time, young people are they're as hard-headed as a brick that this building is. But you know what? You can't give up on them. You can't. We can't give up on these young people. We can't give up on the old people. We have to just keep praying, keep movement, upward mobility, and just trying to tell everybody it's in, for me, I'm not being no born again Christian, and I'm not preaching to people. I'm telling people what has worked for me and where my success has been. It's been in the hands of God. It's been in the hands of people that I understand and that loves me, and that genuinely loves me, and I love them back. I don't want to be around nothing negative. Why? Why? I want to be around good juices, good energy, good vibes. People that's going to tell me that everything is going to be all right.
So, what do you do when you're in situations where the energy is not the best? How do you protect yourself?
I'm like Michael Jackson. I moonwalk out of it.
Mhm.
I,
Okay.
I would have to like moonwalk. I'm not going to be a part of something that is negative. And I look at people and I look at so-called friends as demons. I look at people who are demons. Sometimes they come in the form of moms and dads and sisters and brothers and best friends. And so I really sit back and I just re-examine the relationship and simply say, this don't feel good. And my mother used to tell me when I would bring kids home or people home from school, it's something about that person I just don't like. I don't want them in my house again. And you know what? I went with that. And now I do uh, examine who I bring in my life, who walks through my apartments, who do I have conversation with. Everybody is not your friend, because if you take the word friend and split the syllable, you get END, a end of a friend.
Yeah.
And so, therefore, I'm very, very skeptical about who I bring into my life, who I bring into my energy, who I bring into my emotions. That takes time. It takes a whole lot of time to sit back. So, you know what? I have learned to live alone, to be alone, and to love alone. And people say, that is so selfish. I said, no, it's not. God told me about self-preservations, and I have to start there. And those people that I love a lot, I bring them closer to me and we share and we have great conversation and we do things together. But I don't want that. What's not good for me, I I could do Michael Jackson really well. I can moonwalk right out of it. And then on my phone, there's a device that says block.
Yeah.
I don't need to make a conversation with you about why, and I'm not going through no arguments. I'm not getting my nerve. No, why? Let's just stop this, and maybe down the road we can regroup to understand each other, and if we're important to each other, and if we can cater to each other, and if we can care for each other. Yeah,
I love that. The way your mother poured into you and passed on a lot of those nuggets, was that something that she received when she was coming up, to your knowledge?
to my knowledge, I had a very young beginning with my grandmother, but they tell me my grandmother was a pistol. And so is my mother is a pistol, was a pistol as well. So I think my grandmother poured. You so back in that day and time, it was a village to raise a child. And so not in this day and time, you touch a child and then you got problems with the courts. But I think that her neighbors and her brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles, they poured in the same kind of knowledge to their children. It was like, this is what you do, this is how you act. My mother used to send me down to North Carolina every year when I was a child, and every word that came out of your mouth was yes sir, no ma'am, yes ma'am, no ma'am. um, and each summer that I would go down there, my whole attitude, my whole diction, and my whole mannerisms changed, and it became accustomed to how my cousins and my aunts and my uncles were raised. I just adapted onto it and understood how the custom or the mannerism was there. And I brought it right back to Newark, New Jersey. It was just a way of life. I try to tell young people, old people like, the importance of respect. Respect is due unto any human being. And if you give it, you should receive it. If you don't give it, why do you receive it? It's so very important that we don't lose and honor those people who are older than I. Do you know one of my clients is Dionne Warwick, and she's been my client for 40 years. Do you know what I call her? Miss Warwick.
Yes.
And about 10 years ago, she said, Angela, you don't have to call me Miss Warwick. I said, oh, yes, I do. She said, Dionne will be fine. And I said, no, no, Miss Warwick. Miss Warwick is fine.
Very
When you have gone through those periods and those times, I just, it's just like the people in my building, and it's not being arrogant. It's just like, I work so hard for somebody to call me Mr. Ellerbee. Don't address me as Angelo, you know? This is to people that I don't know, because it's a title that I worked for. I worked to be called Mr. Ellerbee and not Angelo. Angelo is for my friends, people that I know, not people that I don't know. So I remember the doorman said something to me. He called me Angelo. And I looked at him and I'm like, are you speaking to me? No, it's Mr. Ellerbee. And I had learned the importance of correcting folks. You got to correct it as it's stated, as it's going on. And he looked at me and he said to me, he said, yes, Mr. Ellerbee. Because I understand that I'm African American male living in this building. It's maybe in the 30 stories that's in this building, it's maybe two people that look like me. And I know you don't call Mr. Bernstein Jeff, you call him Mr. Bernstein, right? I pay the same. Call me Mr. Ellerbee. So it's something that I've grown with, and something that I want to receive, because it's a form of respect. I give it, and so it should be received. This is how I look at it.
100%. Mr. Ellerbee, you're no stranger to promoting positivity and motivating people, especially within your books. So what is the difference, would you say? How would you say that you've gotten even better at being able to, spread uplifting messages to people in your books?
I, I think that it's just experience. I think it's just experience. It's everyday living, it's everyday experience. And I think that it would be very selfish of me if I did not share my experiences, the good, the bad, and the ugly, because it's all experience that should be applied. Um, this book really talks about my two times in going bankrupt, right? Bankruptcy. It talks about that I did not take a elevator or a escalator. I chose to take the steps of life. And I went through and I endured. Each step was a learning experience for me. When you get on the elevator and you get on the escalator, you get there too fast. I never liked anything instant. I always wanted something that was brewed. I didn't like instant coffee, but I love brewed coffee because the granules and the ingredients that you have to put inside of it, it takes time. Anything that comes fast goes fast. Why I will support social media to a point, I don't totally support it. I support it for the positive things that it brings across to that layperson. I don't support all of the craziness that goes on social media. I don't believe in buffoonery, particularly for Black folks. I don't think there's a time to just wild out, if you will. I mean, there are comedians and I respect them and the whole of the bit, but when it gets to be buffoonery, I have problems with it. I think that we have grown to a point that we should demand respect and we don't have to show our naked bodies. We don't have to do any of these foolish things. We don't have to cuss people out. We don't need to act like what they think what we are. You understand? So it's just really important for me that the originality in an individual should shine through and that we don't have to deal with buffoonery at all. So the experiences of my life and the experience that I've seen other people go through makes me want to write a book that says, before I let you go, I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to tell you how I feel. I'm going to use my life as the example that you should follow and live by. Not that my life is perfect, but this is what these are the roads that I took. And it was not a yellow brick road. I didn't need to see the wizard. I just needed to hear God. This is what this book is about. Example, mentoring chips, and keep giving back.
Yeah, so you said that this is the last book. Why?
Because when the curtain goes up, you got to perform, right? So the curtain has gone up for 55 years. And I want to do now, I really want to go into TV production and movies and films. Um, I am so blessed that BET is honoring this book, Before I Let You Go, by doing a special on the book and on me. Then they're moving it into a documentary and they're looking at doing a series. So I'm excited about all of that, but I'm more excited that I get to be an executive producer and that I will open up the doors for other people in my surroundings with opportunities. So I'm really setting for, and I think that I've given a lot with it's been 4 books. This is the 4th book. Um, I think I've given a lot of my inspiration. I think that it needs to be soaked in, comprehended, uh, and let someone else go on the journey of that. Um, I'm really into trying to promote positive images on TV and film for people of color, of all color, in every way that I possibly can. And so it's going to be, I know that it's going to be a struggle But I'm in for a good fight. I got on my boxing gloves. I'm ready to fight and go through the things of the wears and tears of what I went through to become this person that I am at this stage of the game. Life is nothing but a fight. And I'm so, so very thankful that God provides for me a way to fight my battles. I always tell people it's not about winning every race. It's just about staying in the race. Eventually you gotta win, right? And whatever time he gives to me, I'm just gonna fight that battle until I win in my TV and my film side.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah,
Mr. Ellerbee. Well,
yeah.
congratulations. That's fantastic to hear, and
Thank
it's
you.
so well deserved.
Thank you
You're very
very
welcome.
much.
You're very
You
welcome.
know, sometimes you sit back and you say, well, I say to myself, have I been cheated out of my notoriety? Have I been cheated out of the global response that I've always wanted? And that's why I said when people say, oh, you're so successful, I said, no, I'm not at the apex of where I wanted to be. So I have to think that he enables me to live, and I have a desire to want to get to the next level of my life. And I'm going to do it regardless to who receives me. Or I can go through 102 different people. I just need one person that's going to receive me, accept me, and give me the opportunity. And that's what I want young people, old people alike to understand. Don't give up. You just got to keep turning that wheel, and eventually you're going to land in a space that you want to be.
Is this reinvention or is
Yeah, it is. It
it,
is. It really is. It is. I'm celebrating 55 years. It'll be 56 years in doing this whole publicity and media and all that. And so now it's like I'm not discontinuing double exposure. I'm adding on to double exposure. But this time I'm going to really spin the wheels for Angelo Ellerbee at this point. And I want to just get out there and do what my desires, fulfill my desires as a film director, as a person that will oversee, supervise, and or manage a production company. It's what I've always wanted to do. And I'm sure I'm going to be resisted, but it ain't the first time and it won't be the last time. So that's what my goal is at this point. It's reaching that apex of film and TV.
wow, amazing. What is the most touching testimonial that you have ever received in your journey 5 decades?
Um, it would have to come from people who write into me and people who tell me of their story, their plight, their disappointments. I'm always moved by people's challenges and that they believe that I can aid and assist them, that they believe um, that somebody can help them. And I take a lot of time in answering emails. I get them from prisons, I get them from youth centers, I get them from domestic violence centers, I get them for the LGBT plus community. I get it from everyone, and I try to write back each and every one. Now, I don't try to write back, I write back. To anyone that writes me, I write them back. And sometimes people just need some hope, some faith, and some love. Not that I can resolve their problems, but I can address their problems and give them my experience and what I think that they should do to change their lives. So I'm always moved by people who understand that there are chances of life that they have to take, and people who are not afraid of the fear factor of life. I take the time to write them back because God gives us so many chances. And have, I, I really have an appreciation for those people who understand that they're at a chance moment and they're reaching out to want to have help. You know, when we started to deal with this whole thing with COVID and the whole bit, that set us back not 2 years, but I think 10 years. People were so distraught and people were so lonely and people The touch, the human touch was not there. People were so afraid. And so I get it. I totally, totally get it because I live alone. And so I understand when people are reaching out and just want to touch, they just want to hear the words, the feelings, and the emotions. I'm for the people. I'm for the people who, because as I grew up, it was my mom, my sisters, my brother, and then I met a gentleman by the name of James Mtume. It changed my life, totally changed my life. Accepted my sexuality, accepted. He said before he passed away, Angelo, and I don't. He said to me, "You're deliciously arrogant," and I go, "What?" I said, "Mtume, you just insulted me." He said, "No, I didn't. I just gave you the biggest compliment I could ever give you." He said, "Do you remember um, why I hired you and why I brought you into my family?" I said, "No, I don't." He said, "Because you were deliciously arrogant. You walked with faith, you walked with confidence, you walked with the desire to want to learn." He went to, and I was like, "Oh, Mtume, I never ever heard someone be so negative, turn the negative into positive." He said, "No, man, I just want you to understand you don't take no mess from nobody." He was born on January 3rd. I was born on January 9th.
Wow.
So the closeness with him and I, it still remains. I am so tied to his family, his wife, and his children because we all grew together. We all learned together. We all had to stomach James and Tume to a point that we just loved them. I went up yesterday and had dinner with the family, and all we did was sit in the living room and talked about James and Tume. But the wit, the intellect, the intelligence, the strength in this man was unbelievable, and he changed my life. He changed my life, and I at some time I thought that maybe he was my father because he had such a desire to want to aid and assist me. He really wanted me to be great. And it was so funny at the end of his time, he said to me, he said, "You're all of what I ever thought you were going to be." And I go, "And Tume, that's, you know, that's what I like being around. It's encouraging. If I can go and just touch all these kids in all these various neighborhoods and simply say, it's not, it's not for you. Give yourself a chance. Give yourself a chance."
What do you miss the most about him, and what do you think he would say about "Before I Let You Go"?
He would, and Tume never called me Angela, he called me nephew. He would say, "Nephew, this is a book that's needed." So Mtume was not just a musician, a two-time Grammy Award winner, an advocate, the whole other bit. He had a heart of pure gold. He had this heart that you just surrendered to. He could mesmerize you. He could tell you that the room was green and the room was really blue. And you would sit there after conversation and you would go, "Oh, to me, that room is." That's the kind of guy he was. But he was just so transparent with who he was and who you were and what you meant to him. And and so I've adapted some of those qualities. He always would say to me, "Be who you are. Be who you are. Don't be." And even yesterday, in the dinner with the Mtume family, they said, "Angel, time the kids come around, you change your voice." He said, "No, Baba." They called him Mtume Baba. Baba said, "Be who you are, and you got to live that. You don't need to be. You don't need to duplicate, to be duplicated. You don't need to be afraid. You just need to be who you are." That's what I want people to do. Be original. Don't be a copycat. Be who you are and live in that, and love in that. My sister said to me once, Sister Rose said to me once, all I want you to do is respect yourself. Because when you respect yourself, she was talking about my lifestyle. When you respect yourself, people will respect you as well. When you don't respect yourself, that's when it's a problem. Yeah. So I just learned all of these great energies around me. How could I go wrong? I get depressed. Don't get me wrong, because I do, but it's for a day. And I think sometimes depression is good for you. I think sometimes depression will bring you back into the loop of where you need to be. You can see your mistakes, you can see your trials, you can see your tribulation, you can see it all. And then it goes away and you say, you know what? Thank God. Thank you, God, for letting me see that vision. I know what I have to do to change it. That's the real side of life.
I mean, and on that note, Mr. Angelo Ellerbee. Mr. Angelo Ellerbee, first of all, thank you for what you do and what you've done. And I want to also say that it was a wonderful, wonderful pleasure and honor to speak with Mr. James Ntume. Thank you for that. Bless his soul. And it's clear that you guys were matched, you know?
Yeah, we
You
were.
were you were matched. It makes
Yeah, we were.
sense. It makes
Yeah,
sense.
we were.
Yeah.
I love him. I love him so much. It's just as though he was in this room. He's taught me so much. All of what I've made of myself and all of the dollars and cents
Mhm.
is a combination of my mother and James Ntume, because he taught me it all. And my mother taught me the roots of life. It's important. And it's important that young people have a respect for their seniors, for their elders. They need to learn their history, understand who their inventors are. We just need to embrace each other. This is an election year where it's cuckoo for Cocoa Pops. You don't know which direction to go into. But if we start to savor our energies and combine our efforts collectively as a people, we will come out on top. It's not as and I think it's really important that we begin to uh, elect those people in our communities. You know, the bigger picture is the bigger picture, but the ones that is going to be supportive to you and your particular communities is those community leaders. I care about the world, I care about the US, but I care about my people a little bit more. That's just how I look at life. Each one is to teach one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Exactly.
that's what I think that's what we have to start.
That's beautifully said.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I enjoy your platform. This is my first physical time meeting you, and I enjoy you. I love your intellect. I love your calmness in your interviews, and I wish that you continue to do this and stay in the spotlight and give what you have to give back to so many young sisters and brothers, because it's so very important that they see people like you and I. So please stay visual and stay ready and relevant to embrace your young brothers and sisters. They need you.
Oh gosh, Mr. Ellerbee.
They need you. They really do.
Thank you so much.
I
Wow.
think your mom and dad has done an incredible job.
Oh, I appreciate that. You know, your mom did a wonderful job with you. You know, your
Yeah,
family.
she was a ball buster, but I love it all. I think when we're growing up, we always want to be, oh, mom, why you did that, mom? What? And you know what? As we grow up, we go, now I got it. Now I understand. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I
Yes, you
understand.
do.
I
Yes,
understand.
makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
They were giving us survival skills. We didn't understand what survival skills were when we were so young. Why are we doing this? We're doing it for a reason. Because it's hereditary. It's what was taught from their mothers and fathers. And they didn't go wrong. If they didn't go wrong, they didn't want to make the rights go wrong. So they just gave you what the medicine that their mother and their fathers gave you. That's what I had to come to realize as I got older. Your mom and dad should be saluted, really.
I think you would be an amazing parent.
You know what? I raised my three nephews. My middle sister had kids at very early, like 16 to 17 years old. And this was the switch my mother. So she embraced it,
Mhm.
and we had to. And so what happens is that we all had to raise them. I had three boys that I put through Catholic schools for a better education. Um, Unfortunately, two of them passed away. One is still living. Um, and I loved, they were just silly. And I loved them because it was like a fatherhood for me. Um, it was, it was an amazing time in my life because I was young, as I'm the youngest in my family, but I was a parent, I was a friend, and I was a mentor to all three of them. And I smile only because they all were very special, but there was one particularly that looked
Mhm.
like my sister, just silly and then very serious. Um, his name was Almeen, and I loved him dearly. And we were, I don't know if we were like, they would call me when they wanted something. They would call me Pop. When that's when they wanted something like a new pair of sneakers or a hoodie or whatever they wanted. And then when they would call me Uncle Buki, my nickname in my family is Buki, right? So they would go Uncle Buki, and I know that it's some mess. When they wanted, it was Pop. But yeah, I think I went through that. I don't wish that on in this particular time in life. Raising a child, you have to really, really, if you're going to be a good parent, you have to follow every footstep that they take because after you finish raising them, then the streets will raise them. And if you're a good parent, you have to stay on top of your raising and your the upward mobility of your child. It's a job. It's a job. So those out there that's doing that, God bless you. God be with you. It's a job. But thank you.
No problem. Of course, absolutely. How can people keep up with you and definitely get before I let you go and even your other books?
So this book is put out by Hov Pub,
All
and
right.
it's a sister. It's a sister
Oh,
that
wow.
runs it, and I love her dearly. Her name is Jermaine, and I she and I met during the DMX time of his passing. And one day I just texted her and said something to her. And I said, well, I'm in the midst of writing the book and da 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 da. I don't want to go to a white firm. I want to go to, and she said, Angela, that's what I do. And I go, oh my God, please forgive me. And she said, no, that's what I do. And I said, I'd rather give this book to you. And she has been, I just like to feel the Black folks on my stuff, if you will. Uh, I like the unity and the unification of Black people working together to accomplish a common goal. And so she's putting out the book. It's also going to be done on, I think, distributed through Amazon as well, but through her company, Hov Pub. And then all of my social media is doubleexposurenyc.com. Um, that's it. Simple. And I still, people can always call me. They go, are you really giving out your phone number? Why not? Because you know what, Jules, listen, when I go out of here, when the Lord takes me from here, ain't nothing I can take with me. So let's just give it out freely. Well, what am I do with all of what he gave me? Nothing. So let's share it. So people can call me at 201-224-6570. I answer the phone. I answer the phone. I answer the phone. People, you answer your own phone? Well, it's my phone, ain't it? Yes, I'm going to answer my own phone. So yeah, look, I've learned the importance of humbleness, 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 humbleness. You get everything with being humble.
You're a real one. Yeah.
Yeah. God's been good. God has been so good. And Jules, I thank him all day because I got it and I understand it.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, I really do.
Yeah.
I do.
You know, you keep pushing and everything, but yeah, those moments can get discouraged. That's what you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you got to keep on moving, and you can't sit back and feel sorry for yourself. You
Right.
got to keep yourself
Your
up.
vibration up. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to keep it up. You got to endure all of that other stuff. Keep it moving. Yeah, okay. And you know who was really good for this with me was Dionne Warwick.
Yeah.
All those things that she kept it moving. She said, "Oh, yeah, okay, babe, we're gonna deal with that, but we gotta do this now."
Wow.
Oh God, I think they're ready for me, Jules. I'm gonna,
Oh,
but
okay.
it was such a pleasure, my love.
It
Thank
was. Thank you as well, Mr. Ellerbee. Yeah, it's cutting off. You guys definitely have to check out Mr. Ellerbee and his book before I let you go. We're also definitely going to be on the lookout for the BET docu-series, which is well deserved.
thank you so
Okay?
much, my love.
You're very
Thank
welcome.
you. Take care now.
You too.
Bye bye.